That fluorescent lights in Morton's diner buzzed like trapped insects, casting a sickly yellow glow over the cracked vinyl booths and scuffed linoleum floor. Claire Morgan moved between tables with mechanical efficiency, her sneakers squeaking with each step, a coffee pot in one hand and a forced smile plastered on her face. "More coffee?" she asked the businessman in booth 7, who didn't bother looking up from his phone as he shoved his cup toward her. The hot liquid sloshed dangerously close to the rim as she poured. No thank you, no acknowledgement, just the expectation that she'd be invisible until needed again. Claire's back ached. She'd been on her feet for 4 hours already, and her shift didn't end for another 3. The morning rush was the worst, full of people who treated service workers like furniture that occasionally moved. She caught her reflection in the chrome napkin dispenser. Barely recognizing the exhausted woman staring back, dark circles shadowed her green eyes, and her auburn hair had escaped its bun in several places, hanging in limp strands around her freckled face. 26 years old, and this was her life. "Order up," Jerry shouted from the kitchen, his voice cutting through the diner's noise. Claire grabbed the plates, delivered them to a table of college students who didn't tip last time and probably wouldn't this time either, then returned to refill the coffee of a woman who complained the eggs were too runny, even though she'd ordered them that way. When she finally got her break at 11:47 a.m., Claire collapsed onto the back step behind the diner, pulling the crumpled envelope from her apron pocket. Past due. Final notice. Eviction proceedings would begin if she didn't pay $840 by Friday. That was in 3 days. She did the math in her head for the 100th time. Tips from today would maybe cover $60 if she was lucky. Her paycheck from the diner wasn't due until next week. The cleaning job tonight would bring in another $75, but that left her more than $700 short. The numbers didn't work, no matter how many times she rearranged them. Claire folded the notice carefully, creasing it along the same lines she'd folded it a dozen times before, and shoved it back into her pocket. Her father would have known what to do. He always figured things out somehow, even when money was tight. But her father had been dead for 6 months, and she was drowning alone. The afternoon crawled by in a blur of dirty dishes and demanding customers. By the time her shift ended at 3:15 p.m., Claire's feet felt like they might fall off. She changed out of her uniform in the tiny bathroom, pulling on jeans with a worn knee and a sweater that had seen better days 5 years ago. Then caught the bus toward Pinewood Cemetery. She'd been meaning to visit for weeks, but kept finding excuses. Work, exhaustion, the unbearable weight of standing at a grave and accepting that he was really gone. But today was November 18th, her father's birthday. He would have been 53. The cemetery sprawled across several acres on the east side of town, where the city gave way to scrubby fields and industrial complexes. Claire walked the familiar path to Section D, Plot 127, carrying a small bouquet of carnations she'd bought from the grocery store for $4.99. They weren't much, but they were all she could afford. What she saw when she reached the grave made her stop short. Someone had been there before her. A massive arrangement of white roses sat at the base of the headstone, easily 3 dozen blooms in an expensive crystal vase. The flowers were pristine. Clearly delivered within the last few hours. Claire set her cheap carnations down beside them, feeling suddenly foolish. Who would leave roses at her father's grave? Clara Morgan had been a maintenance worker, a single dad who lived paycheck to paycheck, just like she did. He didn't have friends with money for $100 flower arrangements. He didn't have anyone except her. Claire knelt on the cold ground, brushing dead leaves away from the granite marker. "Happy birthday, Dad," she whispered. "I'm sorry I couldn't bring something nicer. I'm sorry about a lot of things lately." Her throat tightened. She traced the engraved letters of his name with her fingertip. That's when she noticed it. Behind the headstone, tucked into a gap where the granite didn't quite meet the ground, something white caught the light. Claire leaned closer. An envelope, sealed in clear plastic to protect it from the weather. Her father's name was written across the front in elegant script that looked like it had been done with an actual fountain pen. She pulled it free with trembling hands. The envelope inside the plastic was expensive, cream-colored paper with a weight to it. No return address, no stamp, hand-delivered. Claire's fingers felt numb as she tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of matching paper with one sentence written in the same elegant hand. "The debt is paid." VK. She read it 3 times, her heart pounding harder with each pass. The debt is paid. What debt? Her father didn't have debts, or at least none she knew about. He'd always been careful with money, teaching her to save every penny because you never knew when everything could fall apart. VK. The initials meant nothing to her. Claire turned the paper over, searching for more information, but the back was blank. She checked the envelope again. Nothing, just those 6 words and 2 initials that were apparently supposed to mean something. A cold wind swept through the cemetery, making her shiver. The sun was already sinking toward the horizon, casting long shadows between the headstones. She should go. She had to catch the bus to her cleaning job by 5:30 p.m., or she'd be late. But she couldn't stop staring at the letter. Her father's final weeks rushed back to her in fragments. He'd been different those last days before the heart attack. Distracted. He'd check his phone constantly, jump at unexpected sounds. She'd asked if something was wrong, and he'd smiled that reassuring dad smile and said everything was fine, just work stress. She'd believed him. What had he been hiding? Claire carefully placed the letter back in its plastic sleeve and tucked it into her bag. She said goodbye to her father's grave, arranging her carnations so they weren't completely overshadowed by the roses, then headed for the bus stop with more questions than answers. On the ride downtown to the office building where she cleaned, Claire pulled out her phone and searched VK. Nothing useful came up, just generic results. She tried VK debt and got articles about foreign exchange rates. Then she remembered something. Her father's belongings. She'd packed them up 2 months after the funeral, unable to look at his things anymore, and shoved the boxes in her closet. Had she gone through everything? Really looked? The cleaning shift dragged even more than usual. Claire pushed her cart through the empty office building, vacuuming floors and emptying trash cans while her mind spun. At 11 p.m., she finally clocked out and took 2 buses back to her apartment, a studio in a converted warehouse that cost too much for its size, but was all she could find. The boxes were exactly where she'd left them, stacked in the narrow closet behind her winter coats. Claire pulled them out one by one, going through clothes and books and tools with growing desperation. In the 3rd box, tucked inside an old toolbox, she found it. A business card, worn at the edges like it had been handled many times. Riverside Pawn and Loan, with an address in the industrial district. The shop's printed phone number had been crossed out. On the back, in her father's familiar handwriting, were 2 letters. VK had exactly 1 day off every 2 weeks, and today was it. She spent the morning staring at the business card, arguing with herself about whether this was monumentally stupid or absolutely necessary. By noon, she'd convinced herself that answers were worth the risk. The bus to Riverside took 40 minutes, carrying her through neighborhoods that grew progressively rougher with each stop. Her landlord, Mr. Patterson, had warned her once about this part of town. People don't go to Riverside unless they're looking for trouble or running from it, he'd said. Claire suspected she might be doing both. She got off at the corner of 5th and Harbor, where the address on the card should have been. The street looked like the city had given up on it a decade ago. Boarded-up storefronts lined both sides, their signs faded and broken. Graffiti covered most available surfaces in layers. New tags over old ones in an endless cycle of territorial marking. Riverside Pawn and Loan occupied the middle of the block, or used to. The windows were boarded with plywood that had gone gray with age and weather. A faded sign hung at an angle above the door, barely legible. The shop was clearly abandoned, had been for years based on the rust on the security gate. Claire stood on the sidewalk, feeling foolish. What had she expected? That she'd walk in and someone would explain everything? That VK would be sitting behind a counter, waiting to tell her what her father had been involved in? She checked the card again, confirming the address. This was definitely the place. She walked closer, peering through gaps in the plywood. The interior was gutted, empty except for debris and what looked like water damage on the walls. A dead end. Just like everything else in her life lately. Claire walked around to the alley behind the building, not sure what she was looking for. Maybe a phone number painted on the back wall. Maybe a clue about where the business had moved. Probably nothing. That's when she heard it, a soft, hitching sound. Someone crying, trying to stay quiet. The alley was narrow, boxed in by brick walls on both sides and filled with dumpsters that smelled like rot. Claire moved carefully, her footsteps echoing off the walls. The crying got louder. Behind the third dumpster, wedged into the corner where the wall met the pavement, was a child. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, hugged her knees to her chest. She wore a navy blue dress with white tights and patent leather shoes, the kind of expensive outfit Claire had never owned, even as a kid. Her dark hair was pulled back in 2 braids, one coming loose. She was shaking, her whole body trembling like a leaf in a storm. "Hey," Claire said softly, crouching down several feet away so she wouldn't seem threatening. "Are you okay? Are you lost?" The girl's head snapped up, revealing huge gray eyes wide with terror. Her face was streaked with tears, her nose running. She pressed herself harder against the wall, making herself smaller. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." Claire kept her voice gentle, the way she used to talk to frightened animals. "My name is Claire. What's yours?" The child just stared at her, mouth trembling. Then her hands moved, fingers forming shapes Claire didn't understand, sign language. The girl was signing something desperate and urgent, but Claire couldn't read it. "I don't understand," Claire admitted. "I'm sorry, do you have a phone? Parents I can call?" The girl shook her head violently, then kept signing, more frantically now. Her small hands were moving so fast, they blurred. Whatever she was trying to communicate, it was important. Claire noticed details she'd missed in the first few seconds. The girl's dress was dirty at the hem, but otherwise pristine, expensive fabric. A medical alert bracelet gleamed on her right wrist. Her shoes probably cost more than Claire made in a week. This wasn't a street kid or a runaway from a bad home. This was someone's well-cared-for daughter. "Can I see your bracelet?" Claire pointed to it. "Maybe it has a number?" After a moment's hesitation, the girl extended her arm. Claire leaned in carefully, reading the engraved text. "Lily Cade. Selective mute. Emergency contact." Followed by a phone number. "Lily," Claire said, and the girl's eyes focused on her with desperate hope. "That's a pretty name. I'm going to call this number, okay? Get you home safe." She pulled out her phone and dialed. It rang 4 times before clicking to voicemail. A generic automated voice, no personal message. Claire's stomach sank. She tried again. Same result. "Is there someone else I can call? Another number?" Lily shook her head, then grabbed Claire's sleeve with surprising strength. She pointed at Claire, then at herself, then made a gesture that clearly meant, "Stay together." Her gray eyes pleaded. That's when Claire heard the vehicles. 2 black SUVs rolled into view at the alley's entrance, moving slowly. Expensive vehicles, tinted windows. The kind of cars that didn't belong in Riverside unless they were slumming or hunting. They stopped, and men in dark suits climbed out. 4 of them, scanning the area with the systematic efficiency of people trained to find things. Lily saw them and went rigid. Her fingers dug into Claire's arm hard enough to hurt, and she shook her head frantically. "No, don't let them see me." The message was clear even without words. Claire's heart hammered. Every instinct screamed that something was very wrong. These men were looking for Lily, but Lily was terrified of them. Were they kidnappers? Had she escaped from them? Or were they supposed to be helping her and something had gone horribly wrong? She had maybe 30 seconds before they reached this dumpster. "Come on," Claire whispered, pulling off her jacket and wrapping it around Lily's shoulders to hide the expensive dress. "Stay close to me, and stay quiet." They moved deeper into the alley, away from the SUVs. Claire's mind raced through options. Call the police? But what if these men were the police? What if calling brought more danger? And why had Lily reacted with such terror? The alley connected to another street behind it, where an old warehouse stood with broken windows. Claire tried the side door, praying. It opened with a screech of rusty hinges that sounded deafening in the silence. Inside, the warehouse was a cavern of shadows and abandoned machinery. Pigeons scattered from the rafters as they entered. Claire pulled Lily behind a stack of old crates, both of them breathing hard. Through a broken window, she could see the men spreading out, searching methodically. One of them spoke into a radio, too far away for Claire to hear the words. Lily pressed against her side, still trembling. Claire wrapped an arm around the small shoulders, feeling protective instinct override common sense. This child was terrified. Whatever was happening, whoever those men were, Claire couldn't just hand her over to them. She pulled out her phone again, keeping the brightness low, and searched Lily Cade. The results made her blood run cold. News articles from 4 months ago. Daughter of Vincent Cade targeted in kidnapping attempt. Crime boss's family under threat. Cade syndicate tightens security after attack. Claire scrolled frantically, piecing together fragments. Vincent Cade, organized crime, connections to half the city's underground operations. His daughter Lily, 7 years old, had been the target of a kidnapping by a rival organization. She'd been recovered safely, but the family had gone into deep seclusion afterward. Claire looked down at the girl huddled against her. This wasn't just any lost child. This was the daughter of one of the most dangerous men in the city. And those SUVs outside, those men in suits, they weren't kidnappers. They were her father's people, searching for her. Which raised an even more terrifying question. Why was Lily running from them? They stayed hidden for 90 minutes before the warehouse door opened. Claire had been tracking time on her phone, watching the battery drain to 23%, while she and Lily sat pressed against the crates. The men had circled the building twice, their voices carrying through broken windows. Professional, calm, systematic. Not the voices of criminals hunting prey, but not comforting either. The door swung open with enough force to echo through the empty space. Footsteps, multiple sets, moving with tactical precision. Claire's heart hammered so hard she thought they might hear it. "We know you're in here." The voice was male, controlled, carrying the kind of authority that expected obedience. "We're not here to hurt anyone. Lily, your father is looking for you. He's very worried." Lily's grip on Claire's arm tightened to the point of pain. The child shook her head frantically, eyes wide with terror that seemed disproportionate if these were really her father's men. Unless she had reason to fear her father. Claire's mind raced through impossibilities. Stay hidden and hope they left? Impossible in a mostly empty warehouse. Run? There was nowhere to go. Call the police? And say what? That she was hiding a crime boss's daughter from his own security team? She was out of options. "Don't shoot," Claire called out, her voice shaking. "We're coming out. Please don't hurt us." She stood slowly, hands visible, keeping Lily slightly behind her. The girl clung to her waist, face pressed against her side. 5 men stood near the entrance, spreading out to cover angles. 4 wore dark suits with the kind of fit that suggested concealed weapons. The 5th stood slightly ahead of the others, tall and lean with short blonde hair and blue eyes that assessed everything in seconds. His suit was impeccable despite the warehouse grime. His gaze locked onto Lily, and his entire posture changed. Relief washed over his face, followed immediately by concern. "Lily," he said, and his hands moved in fluid signs. The girl's head turned slightly, watching him. He kept signing, patient and gentle. After a long moment, Lily let go of Claire and walked toward him, not running, not eager, but resigned. The man knelt down to her level, continuing to sign with one hand while checking her over with the other, looking for injuries with practiced efficiency. Then his attention shifted to Claire, and the warmth disappeared. "Who are you?" His voice was polite but hard underneath, the kind of politeness that preceded violence. "How did you find her?" "I didn't find her. She was hiding in an alley, and I was just trying to help. My name is Claire Morgan. I'm nobody. I don't know anything about whatever this is." The words tumbled out too fast. "I just wanted to make sure she was safe." "Claire Morgan." He said it like he was filing the name away. "You're coming with us." It wasn't a request. 2 of the suited men moved forward. Claire's instinct was to run, but there was nowhere to go, and running would only make things worse. They didn't grab her roughly, but their hands on her arms made it clear she had no choice. They walked her out to one of the SUVs. Lily was already inside with the blonde man, buckled into a seat. Claire was directed into the back row, a guard on either side of her. The doors closed with the solid funk of expensive engineering. The drive took 40 minutes, heading out of the city toward the hills, where houses became estates and estates became compounds. Claire tried to memorize the route. But after the 3rd turn onto unmarked roads, she lost track. Trees lined both sides, blocking the view of anything useful. The gate they finally reached looked like something from a movie. 12 feet of wrought iron, topped with cameras, guards in a booth checking identification. Beyond it, a long driveway curved through manicured grounds toward a house that made Claire's apartment building look like a storage shed. The estate sprawled across what had to be several acres. Stone and glass, modern architecture blended with classical elements. Probably 8 or 9 bedrooms. Gardens spread out on both sides, perfectly maintained. This wasn't wealth. This was power made visible. They parked in a circular drive. The blonde man carried Lily toward the entrance, signing to her the whole way. The guards escorted Claire inside, not rough, but not gentle either. She was acutely aware that she was wearing jeans with a hole in the knee and a sweater from a thrift store, walking on marble floors that probably cost more than a year of her rent. The interior was both beautiful and intimidating. High ceilings, expensive art, furniture that looked antique, but also cameras in corners, security panels by doors, the subtle signs of a fortress dressed as a home. They took her to an office on the second floor. Large windows overlooked the grounds, but Claire noticed they were bulletproof. The glass slightly thicker than normal. Bookshelves lined 2 walls. A massive desk dominated the center, and sitting behind it was a man who radiated danger, even sitting completely still. Vincent Cade looked nothing like the grainy photos from news articles. He was bigger in person, easily 6'3", with broad shoulders under a tailored charcoal suit, dark hair with silver at the temples, sharp features, and gray eyes that matched his daughter's but held none of her innocence. A faint scar ran from his left ear to his chin, barely visible, but present. Those eyes locked onto Claire, and she understood immediately why people feared this man. He'd clearly been awake for a long time. His tie was loosened, his jaw shadowed with stubble, and there was a brittleness to his control that suggested he was holding himself together through sheer will. He stood as they entered, moving around the desk with predatory grace. Lily ran to him. He caught her, dropping to his knees to wrap his arms around her, and for a moment the dangerous man disappeared. He held his daughter like she was made of glass, one hand cradling her head, murmuring something too soft to hear. His eyes closed briefly, and Claire saw the naked release and terror of a parent who'd thought the worst. Then he opened his eyes and looked at Claire over Lily's shoulder, and the dangerous man returned. He signed something to Lily, who nodded and left with the blonde man. When the door closed, Vincent stood slowly, his full attention fixing on Claire. "Sit." It wasn't a suggestion. Claire sat in one of the leather chairs facing the desk. Vincent moved back to his own chair, steepling his fingers, studying her with unnerving intensity. "Who sent you?" "Nobody sent me. I already told them. I found Lily by accident." "There are no accidents in my world. You show up in Riverside, specifically at a location connected to my operations, and coincidentally find my daughter. Explain that." Claire's throat felt dry. "I was looking for answers about my father. He died 6 months ago, and I found a business card for that pawn shop. I went there today because I thought it might tell me something about what he was involved in. I found your daughter hiding in the alley. That's the truth." "Your father's name?" "Clara Morgan." The change in Vincent's expression was subtle but definite. Recognition, followed by something that might have been regret. He leaned back in his chair, reassessing her. "Owen," he said, and the blonde man appeared so quickly he must have been right outside. "Pull up the Morgan file." Owen moved to a computer on a side table, fingers flying over the keyboard. After a moment, he turned the screen toward Vincent, who read in silence. The seconds stretched. Claire's palms were sweating. Finally, Vincent spoke, his voice different now. Less interrogation, more contemplation. "Your father saved my daughter's life 4 months ago." Claire's world tilted. "What?" "There was an attempt to take Lily. The Russo family, rivals of mine. They held her in a building downtown for 6 hours while they negotiated terms. Your father was working maintenance there that day. He found where they were keeping her, managed to get her out through a service corridor. He was shot twice, covering her escape." The room felt too small suddenly. "He died of a heart attack. He died of his wounds 3 hours after getting Lily to my men. I had the death certificate changed to protect you. The Russos would have killed you to send a message as they'd known Clara Morgan had family." Claire couldn't breathe properly. Everything she'd been told, everything she'd believed about her father's death, was a lie. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Because you were safer not knowing. I paid for his funeral anonymously. Made sure you were taken care of financially within limits that wouldn't draw attention. Vincent's voice was matter-of-fact, but there was something underneath. Respect, maybe, or debt. The letter you found was acknowledgement that his sacrifice was honored. He died saving your daughter, and I didn't even know. Claire's voice cracked. I thought he had a heart attack at work. I thought he died alone. Vincent's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. He died a hero. That matters. It would have mattered more if I'd known. Silence stretched between them. Owen cleared his throat softly. Sir, we still don't know why Lily ran. Vincent's jaw tightened. She overheard a conversation about security protocols. There's been chatter about another attempt. She panicked during a shift change and slipped out. We've been searching for 7 hours. He looked at Claire, and she saw the exhaustion under the control, the fear that had been eating at him. You brought her back. That makes us even for what your father did, or begins to. He leaned forward. But now you know too much. You know who I am, where I live. What my daughter looks like. You understand the problem. Claire's heart stopped. She understood perfectly. She knew things that could get her killed by his enemies or make her a liability in his eyes. You'll stay here until the current threat is neutralized. Then we'll discuss next steps. It was presented as protection, but Claire heard the truth. She was a prisoner. The guest room was bigger than Claire's entire apartment. A king-sized bed dominated the space. Covered in linens that probably had a thread count higher than her bank balance, floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the gardens, though Claire noticed the bulletproof quality immediately. An attached bathroom featured marble counters and a shower with 6 different heads. A walk-in closet held clothes in her size that definitely hadn't been there before she arrived. Someone had prepared this room for her, quickly and efficiently, while she'd been in Vincent's office. That should have been comforting. Instead, it terrified her. Claire sat on the edge of the bed, trying to process the last 3 hours. Her father had died a hero. She was being held in a crime lord's mansion. A 7-year-old girl had trusted her enough to hide with her. Nothing about her life made sense anymore. She pulled out her phone, still at 18% battery, but she had signal. She could call someone. Who? She didn't have friends close enough to report her missing. Mr. Patterson would eventually notice she wasn't home, but not for days. The diner wouldn't miss her until her next shift on Thursday. She could disappear into this house and nobody would notice. The thought made her chest tight. Claire stood, pacing to the windows. Guards walked the grounds below, regular patrols with military precision. The gate in the distance was closed, cameras tracking every angle. This place was a fortress. A knock at the door made her jump. Come in, she said, hating how uncertain her voice sounded. Owen entered, carrying a tray with food. Soup, bread, cheese, fruit arranged like something from a magazine. The smell made Claire's stomach growl, reminding her she hadn't eaten since a stale bagel at 6 a.m. You should eat, Owen said, setting the tray on a small table by the window. It's been a long day. Am I a prisoner? He met her eyes directly. You're being protected. There's a difference. I didn't ask for protection. Your father didn't ask to get shot either. He did it anyway. Owen's voice was matter-of-fact, not cruel but not sympathetic. You brought Lily back safely. That means something. But you also know things that make you a target now. Would you prefer we put you back on a bus to your apartment and hope the Russos don't find you? Claire had no answer to that. Owen moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Clara was brave. He knew exactly what he was risking when he got Lily out. He did it anyway because it was the right thing. Vincent doesn't forget debts like that. He left before Claire could respond. She ate mechanically, the food tasting like cardboard despite probably being excellent. Her mind wouldn't stop spinning through implications and fears and the surreal reality that she was eating soup in a crime lord's guest room. Sleep seemed impossible, but exhaustion eventually won. Claire collapsed onto the bed, fully clothed, and fell into restless dreams about her father's face and gunshots echoing through empty buildings. She woke to sunlight streaming through windows she'd forgotten to cover and the disorienting confusion of unfamiliar surroundings. Her phone showed 8:47 a.m. and 4% battery. She'd missed her shift at the diner. They'd probably already replaced her. Another knock. This time it was a woman, maybe 50, with kind eyes and efficient movements. Good morning. I'm Maria, the head housekeeper. I brought breakfast and thought you might want some clothes that sit better. She gestured to a rolling rack she'd brought, filled with casual clothes in Claire's size. Jeans, sweaters, even pajamas. All expensive, all new. How did you know my size? Owen is very thorough. Maria smiled slightly. There's no rush, but when you're ready, Lily has been asking about you. She's in the sunroom with her tutor. She left the breakfast tray and the clothes, departing before Claire could ask 100 questions crowding her throat. 20 minutes later, showered and wearing jeans that actually fit, Claire found herself being escorted downstairs by a guard who introduced himself only as James. The house was massive. Corridors branching in multiple directions. Rooms whose purposes she could only guess. They passed a library, a gym, what looked like a security control room with banks of monitors. The sunroom was at the back of the house, glass walls overlooking gardens that were probably beautiful when Claire had the capacity to appreciate beauty. Lily sat at a small table, a young woman beside her pointing to words in a textbook. The girl's face lit up when she saw Claire. She jumped from her chair and ran over, wrapping her arms around Claire's waist in a fierce hug. Claire's heart did something complicated. She hugged back carefully, feeling the small body pressed against hers, trusting and warm. The tutor stood, introducing herself as Miss Rachel. "I'll give you some time," she said diplomatically, gathering her materials and leaving. Lily pulled Claire to the table, pointing to a drawing she'd been working on. Crayons and markers covered the surface. The picture showed two stick figures, one tall and one small, holding hands. Above them, she'd written in careful letters, "Claire and Lily." "That's beautiful," Claire said softly. "You're a good artist." Lily beamed. Then her face grew serious. She picked up a marker and wrote on a fresh piece of paper, her printing precise. "Thank you for staying with me. I was scared." "I was scared too," Claire admitted. "But we're okay now." "Are you mad I got you in trouble?" The question hit Claire harder than expected. This child, who'd been through trauma and terror, was worried about her. "You didn't get me in trouble. I'm glad I found you. I'm glad you're safe." Lily's eyes filled with tears. She wrote again, slower this time. "My mom died. Sometimes I have bad dreams. Daddy tries, but he doesn't understand." Claire pulled the girl into another hug, this one lasting longer. "I lost my dad recently. I understand bad dreams." They sat together in the sunroom for an hour, Lily drawing while Claire watched. The child showed her pictures of flowers, of a woman who must have been her mother, of a large black dog she signed was named Ghost. Some of the drawings were darker, sketchy figures with guns that made Claire's chest ache. Vincent appeared in the doorway at 10:30 a.m. Still wearing a suit despite it being Saturday. He watched them for a moment before Lily noticed him and ran over. He signed something to her, and she signed back enthusiastically, pointing at Claire multiple times. "She likes you," Vincent said after Lily returned to her drawing. "That's rare. She hasn't connected with anyone since her mother died 3 years ago. She's a sweet kid. She's traumatized." His voice was flat, stating facts. The kidnapping attempt broke something in her. She stopped talking completely. Nightmares every night. The therapists say she needs stability and people she trusts. "We've had 6 different caregivers in 4 months. She rejected all of them." Claire met his eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm offering you a job." The words hung in the air between them. Vincent moved into the room, his presence somehow making the large space feel smaller. $10,000 a month. You stay here, help with Lily, be someone she can trust. Room, board, everything provided. Medical insurance, security. Claire's mind reeled. $10,000. She made barely $2,000 a month, working herself to exhaustion at 2 jobs. This was more money than she'd ever imagined having. "I'm not qualified to take care of a traumatized child." "You already are taking care of her." She's smiling for the first time in months. Vincent's voice was matter-of-fact. "I'm not asking you to be her therapist. I'm asking you to be her friend, someone safe. I don't want to be part of whatever you do, your business." "You wouldn't be. This is about Lily, nothing else." Claire looked at the little girl drawing flowers, hair falling in her face, completely absorbed. She thought about her apartment she couldn't afford, jobs that were grinding her down, a future that looked like endless struggle. Clinging, she thought about her father dying to save this child, about debts and honor and choices. 1 month, she heard herself say. Trial basis. If it's not working, I leave. Agreed. Vincent pulled a phone from his pocket. Owen will draw up a contract. I want it in writing. That I can leave. That I'm not involved in anything illegal. Something that might have been respect flickered in Vincent's eyes. You'll have it. Within 2 hours, Claire had signed a contract that felt surreal. Owen explained every clause with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before, though probably not for babysitters. There were confidentiality agreements, security protocols, emergency procedures. Claire read everything twice before signing. Her belongings were retrieved from her apartment by people she never met. The diner and cleaning service were called and told she'd resigned. Mr. Patterson was paid 3 months. Rent that she apparently owed. By sunset, Claire's entire life had been dismantled and rebuilt inside a compound belonging to a man who controlled half the city's criminal operations. She stood in her new room, wearing expensive clothes, looking out bulletproof windows at gardens patrolled by armed guards. Lily was next door, connected by a door that had been unlocked from both sides at the girl's insistence. Claire had walked into Riverside looking for answers about her father. She'd found a different life entirely. The first morning, Claire woke at 5:47 a.m. from habit, then remembered she didn't have to rush to the diner. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what she was supposed to do with a day that didn't involve exhaustion and desperation. Lily solved that problem by appearing in her doorway at 6:15 a.m., already dressed, holding a book. She climbed onto Claire's bed without hesitation and opened the book expectantly. Claire read 3 chapters of a story about a girl who could talk to animals before Maria knocked with breakfast. They ate together in the sunroom, Lily's feet swinging under the table, not quite reaching the floor. The girl wrote on her ever-present notepad, "Can we go to the garden?" Mom's garden. The garden was on the east side of the estate, enclosed by a stone wall covered in climbing roses that had seen better days. Inside, flower beds lay overgrown with weeds, paths disappeared under invasive grass, and a small fountain sat empty and cracked. Lily's face fell when she saw it. She signed something complicated, tears forming. "It's okay," Claire said gently. "We can fix it. Would you like that?" The girl nodded eagerly. They spent the morning pulling weeds, Claire doing most of the work while Lily carefully tended to the few flowers that had survived neglect. Maria brought gardening gloves and tools without being asked, along with lemonade and sandwiches at noon. By afternoon, they'd cleared 2 flower beds. Both of them were dirty, sweating, and Lily was smiling so wide her whole face glowed. She wrote, "Mom loved roses. Can we plant more? We'll need to ask your dad, but I think that's a great idea." Vincent appeared at 4:00 p.m., still in a suit despite the weekend, looking like he'd been in meetings all day. He stopped at the garden gate, taking in the scene. Claire suddenly aware of how filthy she was. Dirt under her fingernails and probably on her face. Lily ran to him, signing rapidly. He watched his daughter's hands, his expression softening in ways that made him look almost human. He signed back, then looked at Claire. "She says you're helping bring her mother's garden back." His voice was neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. "Thank you. She's doing most of the work. I'm just the muscle." The corner of his mouth might have twitched. Might have. "Owen will arrange for whatever supplies you need." He left before Claire could respond, but she caught him looking back once through the window of his office. The days developed a rhythm. Mornings with Lily. Working through lessons that Miss Rachel left. The girl was smart, reading above her grade level, though math frustrated her. Claire learned to break problems into smaller pieces, celebrating every success. Afternoons in the garden, watching it slowly come back to life. Owen did arrange supplies, an entire truck's worth, including rose bushes, topsoil, new tools, and a book on gardening that Claire studied like a textbook. Evenings were quieter. Dinner at 6:30 p.m., sometimes with Vincent, often without. When he joined then, he was exhausted, the weight of whatever he dealt with during the day visible in the tightness around his eyes. But he always asked Lily about her day, siding with her for long minutes, giving her his complete attention. Claire started learning sign language properly. She found videos online, practiced for hours after Lily went to bed. By the end of the first week, she could sign basic sentences. "Good morning. I'm proud of you. You're safe here." Lily's face when Claire signed for the first time was worth every minute of practice. The second week, they baked cookies. Maria showed them the kitchen, a massive space with commercial-grade equipment. Lily insisted on doing everything herself, resulting in flour everywhere and cookies that were slightly burnt but tasted like victory. They brought a plate to Vincent in his office. He was on the phone when they entered. His voice cold and clipped. "I don't care what he thinks. The shipment goes through our route or it doesn't go at all. Those are the terms." He hung up when he saw Lily, the hardness dropping away. She offered him a cookie with both hands, formal and serious. He took it, bit into it, and told her in sign that it was the best cookie he'd ever tasted. Lily beamed. Then she pointed at Claire and signed, "She helped. She's nice." Vincent's eyes met Claire's over his daughter's head. "Yes, she is." Something in the way he said it made Claire's stomach flutter. She ignored it. The third week, Lily had a nightmare. Claire woke at 2:30 a.m. to the sound of crying through the connecting door. She found the girl tangled in her sheets, shaking, tears streaming down her face. "Hey, it's okay. I'm here." Claire gathered her into a hug, rocking gently. "You're safe. Nothing's going to hurt you." Lily clung to her, small fingers digging into her shoulders. The crying eventually slowed to hiccups, then to shuddering breaths. Claire started singing softly, an old lullaby her father used to sing to her. She didn't notice Vincent in the doorway until he spoke. She doesn't usually calm down that fast. His voice was rough, like he'd been woken from the little sleep he got. He wore pajama pants and a t-shirt, looking almost normal except for the alertness in his eyes. "The nightmares have been bad since the kidnapping." "How often does she have them?" "Foul. Air or 5 times a week." He moved into the room, sitting on the edge of the bed. He signed something to Lily, who signed back sleepily. "She says you make her feel safe." "She makes me feel needed," Claire admitted. "I haven't felt that in a long time." Vincent studied her in the dim light. "Your father would be proud of what you're doing for her." The comment hit unexpectedly hard. Claire's throat tightened. "I hope so." They sat in silence, both watching Lily drift back to sleep between them. Eventually, Vincent stood carefully, signing good night to his daughter. At the door, he paused. "I meant what I said. Thank you." He left before Claire could respond. The 4th week, Lily spoke. They were in the garden, planting the last of the rose bushes. Claire was explaining how roots need space to grow, and Lily was listening intently. Then, so quietly Claire almost missed it, the girl whispered, "Pretty." Claire froze. "Lily? Did you just?" "Pretty," Lily said again, louder, pointing at a yellow rose. Her voice was scratchy from disuse but unmistakable. "Like Mommy liked." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, baby, so pretty. You're doing such a good job." Lily looked at her, then very deliberately said, "Claire, I'm here, sweetheart. Stay? I'm not going anywhere." Vincent was in his office when Claire brought Lily to tell him. The girl ran to her father, and for the first time in 3 years, said, "Daddy." Claire watched Vincent Cade, the most dangerous man she'd ever met, drop to his knees and pull his daughter into his arms, with tears running down his face. He was shaking, signing and speaking at the same time, telling her how proud he was, how much he loved her. Over Lily's head, his eyes met Claire's. The gratitude in them was raw, unguarded. "Thank you," he mouthed. Claire had to look away from the intensity of it. That evening, Vincent insisted they celebrate. Maria prepared Lily's favorite dinner, pasta with butter and cheese, simple and perfect. They ate together, the 3 of them, Lily chattering quietly about her day, testing her voice with wonder. After Lily went to bed, Vincent asked Claire to stay for coffee. They sat in his study, the city lights visible through the windows, guards patrolling below. "I didn't think she'd ever speak again," Vincent said quietly. "The doctors said it was possible, but I'd stopped believing. She just needed time, and to feel safe enough. She feels safe with you." He paused. "So do I." Claire didn't know what to say to that. The man sitting across from her wasn't the crime lord who'd terrified her 3 weeks ago. He was a father, exhausted and grateful, showing her pieces of himself she suspected few people saw. "Your month is almost up," Vincent said. "I'd like you to stay, permanently, if you're willing. Name your terms." Claire should have said no, should have taken her money and rebuilt her life somewhere far from bulletproof windows and armed guards. But she thought about Lily's smile, about the garden coming back to life. about feeling needed and purposeful for the first time since her father died. "I'll stay," she heard herself say. "Same terms, but I want Lily to have more normal experiences. Parks, museums, other kids. She can't live in a fortress forever." "We'll work on it." Vincent's expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes were warm. "Thank you, Claire, for everything." He extended his hand. Claire shook it, feeling calluses she hadn't expected, his grip firm and steady. She was staying. God help her, she was staying. That night, Claire stood on her balcony, looking at the stars barely visible through city light pollution. Somewhere out there was her old life, already feeling like it belonged to someone else. Here was a garden growing back, a child learning to speak again, and a dangerous man who looked at her like she was something precious. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt something uncomfortably close to hope. The warning came on a Tuesday morning during breakfast. Owen appeared in the doorway of the sunroom, his expression tight. He caught Vincent's eye and made a small gesture. Vincent set down his coffee, signed something to Lily about finishing her pancakes, then followed Owen into the hallway. Claire tried not to eavesdrop, but their voices carried. 3 separate sources confirmed it. The Russos know about her. About Lily? About Claire. They've identified her as living here, connected to Lily. They're asking questions in Riverside, showing her picture around. Silence. Then Vincent's voice, colder than Claire had ever heard it. "Increase perimeter security. Nobody gets within 2 blocks of the property without identification. And find out who's talking." When Vincent returned, his face was carefully blank, but Claire saw the tension in his shoulders. Lily noticed too, signing a question. He smiled at his daughter, reassuring, then looked at Claire. "We need to talk. After breakfast." 20 minutes later, Claire sat in his office while Owen pulled up security footage on a laptop. A grainy video showed 2 men in Riverside, stopping people on the street, showing them something on a phone. "That's you," Owen said, zooming in on the phone screen. Claire's face, captured from somewhere. "The Russo family is actively looking for information about you. They know you're here, know you're important to Lily, which makes you a target." Claire's mouth went dry. "How did they find out?" "Someone talked. We're handling it." Vincent's voice was level, but his eyes were hard. "The threat level just escalated. New protocols go into effect immediately." The changes were immediate and unsettling. More guards appeared, 12 additional men Owen brought in from somewhere. The estate went into what they called soft lockdown. No unnecessary trips outside the gates. Delivery screened more carefully. Visitors prohibited entirely. Claire noticed cameras in places there hadn't been cameras before. Guards patrolled closer to the house, visible from every window. Even Maria seemed tense, moving through her routines with more efficiency and less warmth. Lily sensed the shift. She became clingy, following Claire everywhere, her newfound voice going quiet again. The nightmares returned, worse than before. Claire spent 3 nights sleeping in Lily's room, holding the girl through panicked crying. On Friday, Vincent called a meeting in his office. Claire, Owen, and the head of the security team, a man named Travis with military bearing and sharp eyes. "The Russos are planning something," Vincent said without preamble. "We've intercepted communications. They're moving resources into the city, bringing in outside contractors. This isn't reconnaissance anymore. This is preparation for an attack." "When?" Claire asked, her voice steady. Air than she felt. "Unknown. Could be days, could be weeks, but it's coming." Vincent looked directly at her. "I can move you to a safe location, somewhere far from here. New identity, enough money to start over. You'd be protected. What about Lily?" "Lily stays with me. She's my daughter. I'll protect her." Claire understood what he wasn't saying. Sending her away would remove one target, one vulnerability. It was logical, strategic, the smart move, and it would destroy Lily, who'd finally learned to trust again. "I'm staying," Claire said. "Claire, she needs me. You said it yourself. I'm not leaving her." Claire met his eyes. "Teach me how to protect her, whatever I need to know, but I'm not running." Something flickered across Vincent's face. Respect, maybe, or concern. "It's dangerous. These people, if they get their hands on you, then make sure they don't." Owen cleared his throat. "If she's staying, she needs training. Basic security protocols. Weapon handling, Emergency procedures. Vincent studied Claire for a long moment, then nodded. Owen, train her. Everything she needs to know. The next week was brutal. Owen ran Claire through scenarios relentlessly. How to recognize threats, how to move Lily to safety, where the panic rooms were located and how to secure them. He taught her a shoot, starting with handguns in the estate's private range in the basement. Claire hated guns, the noise, the weight. A violent purpose of them. But she learned anyway, practicing until her hands stopped shaking, until she could hit targets consistently at 15 feet. You won't be expected to fight, Owen explained. Your job is to get Lily to safety and lock down until we handle the threat. But if you're cornered, you need to be able to protect her. On the 10th day, at 11:43 p.m., the alarms went off. Claire was reading in bed when the sound pierced the quiet. A sharp electronic wail that sent adrenaline spiking through her system. She ran to Lily's room, found the girl already awake and terrified. It's okay, baby. Remember what we practiced? Claire pulled on the shoes she now kept by the bed, grabbed the emergency bag Owen had prepared. We're going to the safe room, just like we practiced. Lily nodded, mute with fear. Explosions sounded from the perimeter, muffled but unmistakable. Gunfire followed, rapid bursts that made Claire's heart hammer. She picked up Lily, the girl clinging to her neck, and ran for the hallway. Owen appeared, weapon drawn, blood on his suit sleeve. Basement, now. They breached the east wall. The basement stairs seemed endless. Claire's legs burned, Lily's weight solid in her arms. Behind them, she heard shouts, more gunfire, breaking glass. The house was under attack. The panic room was steel-reinforced, hidden behind a false wall in the wine cellar. Owen pushed them inside, where Maria and 2 housekeepers already huddled. The space was maybe 10 by 12 feet, lined with supplies, a bank of monitors showing security feeds. Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone but me or Vincent. Code word is sanctuary. Owen's eyes were hard, focused. If someone tries to breach, there's a secondary exit through that vent. It leads to the tunnels under the property. Owen, protect her, Claire. He sealed the door. Locks engaging with heavy thuds. Claire set Lily down, the girl immediately pressing against her side. On the monitors, she can see chaos. Armed men in tactical gear moving through the gardens. Vincent's security team engaging them. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like deadly fireflies. One camera showed Vincent himself, rifle in hand, moving with the fluid precision of someone trained for this. He fired. Someone fell. He kept moving. This wasn't the man who'd held his daughter tenderly or smiled at burnt cookies. This was the predator, defending his territory. Don't look, Claire told Lily, covering the girl's eyes. But she couldn't stop watching. The attackers were systematic, professional. They'd studied the estate's defenses and found weaknesses. Claire watched them advance toward the house, saw 2 of Vincent's guards go down. Her stomach twisted. On another monitor, she saw someone reach the basement level, moving fast, weapon raised, clearing corners. The camera angle wasn't good enough to identify them. Maria whispered prayers in Spanish. The housekeepers held each other. Claire pulled Lily into her lap, one hand on the gun Owen had left with her, and waited. Footsteps in the wine cellar, slow, searching, testing walls, getting closer to the hidden door. Claire's finger found the trigger. She'd never shot anyone. Wasn't sure she could. But she'd kill to protect Lily. That certainty was absolute and terrifying. The footsteps stopped directly outside. Someone was examining the wall section that hid the door. Claire heard scratching, testing. They knew something was there. She stood slowly, positioning herself between Lily and the door, raising the weapon the way Owen taught her. Breathe. Aim center mass. Don't hesitate. The hidden door shuddered. Someone was trying to force it. Then gunfire, close and loud. The sound of a body hitting the floor. The door shuddered again, then went still. Sanctuary, Vincent's voice came through, rough and hard. Open up. Claire's hands shook as she entered the code. The locks disengaged. Vincent stood in the doorway, covered in blood that might have been his or might not. Weapons still raised, eyes wild until they found Lily. He lowered the gun, crossed to his daughter in 2 strides, pulled her into his arms. You're safe. I've got you. You're safe. Lily was crying, clinging to him. Vincent held her with one arm, his other hand checking her for injuries with desperate efficiency. His eyes found Claire. You okay? I think so. Are they? It's over. 12 hostiles down, 3 captured. Owen's hurt but stable. We held them. Vincent's jaw was tight. They came for Lily. Would have killed anyone in their way. Including you, his eyes said. Claire realized she was still holding the gun. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped it. Vincent took it gently, set it aside, then did something unexpected. He pulled Claire into the embrace with him and Lily, one arm around each of them. Thank you, he said into her hair, for protecting her, for staying. Claire could feel his heart hammering, smell gunpowder and sweat and fear. For a moment, the three of them just held each other, survivors of something terrible. Then Vincent pulled back, shifting into command mode. We need to move. This location is compromised. Owen's arranging transport to a safe house. Pack light. 5 minutes. The next hours blurred together. A convoy of vehicles, Lily asleep against Claire's shoulder, driving through pre-dawn darkness to a cabin inn. The mountains. More guards, more security, but this location felt different. Smaller, more isolated, defensible. Claire got Lily settled in a bedroom, the girl finally sleeping from exhaustion. When she came back to the main room, Vincent was on the phone, his voice clipped and cold. I want every Russo property hit simultaneously. Send the message clearly. They came for my family. Now, they pay the price. He hung up, saw Claire watching. Something dangerous flickered in his eyes, then faded. I'm ending this, he said quietly. Whatever it takes, they won't threaten her again. Claire saw the truth then. Vincent was going to war, and she'd chosen to stand with him. The safe house sat on 20 acres of wooded mountainside, 3 hours from the city. Built like a fortress disguised as a hunting lodge, with reinforced walls, security systems, and sightlines that covered every approach. Vincent's men had swept it twice before allowing them inside. Claire stood at the window, watching the sunrise paint the mountains gold, while Lily slept in the next room. Behind her, Vincent's voice carried from the main room, where he'd been on the phone for 2 hours. I don't care about collateral concerns. Every business they operate, every property they own, I want pressure applied. Legal, financial, whatever works. Strangle them. She turned to find him standing in the doorway, still wearing tactical gear from the night before, dried blood on his sleeve. He looked exhausted, older than his 38 years, and absolutely ruthless. You should rest, Claire said. I'll rest when this is finished. Vincent moved to the coffee maker, poured a cup with hands that were remarkably steady, considering what he'd done hours ago. Owen's coordinating from the city. We're moving against the Russos tonight. Full offensive. Eliminate their leadership structure. That's murder. That's war. His voice was flat. Matter of fact. They attacked my home, tried to kill my daughter. There's no negotiating with that. Only ending it. Claire felt something twist in her chest. And then what? Their allies retaliate. You hit back harder. It never stops. More people die. Maybe next time they get lucky and... Don't. Vincent's voice cracked like a whip. Don't finish that sentence. Someone has to say it. This cycle, it's going to destroy you. Destroy Lily. I'm protecting Lily. By showing her that violence is the only answer? By making her live in fear forever? Claire's voice rose despite trying to stay calm. There has to be another way. There isn't. Vincent set his coffee down hard enough to slosh. You think I want this? You think I enjoy knowing my daughter can't have a normal life because of what I do? But this is the world I built, and these are the rules. Half measures get people killed. So do wars. They stood 3 feet apart. The distance feeling vast. Vincent's jaw was tight, his eyes hard with the kind of resolve that had probably kept him alive in his business. But underneath, Claire saw fear. Raw, desperate fear that he'd lose his daughter the way he'd lost his wife. Vincent, she gentled her voice. I know you're terrified. I understand wanting to eliminate every threat. But Lily needs her father alive more than she needs her enemies dead. Something flickered across his face. For a moment. The armor cracked, and she saw the man underneath, exhausted, scared, trying so hard to protect the one thing that mattered. I can't lose her, he said quietly. I already lost Rachel. If something happens to Lily because I wasn't strong enough, ruthless enough. Then teach her that strength isn't just violence, that her father was brave enough to find another way. He turned away, hands bracing on the counter. What other way? They won't stop. Make them stop without starting a war. You have lawyers, connections, resources. Owen said something about federal prosecutors. Use that. Vincent was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was careful. There might be a way. Evidence I've been holding. Insurance. Leverage against the Russos. RICO charges. Enough to put their leadership away for decades. But it exposes some of my operations too. The cost is worth it if Lily grows up with a father. He looked at her then. Really looked, and Claire saw the moment he decided. The tension in his shoulders eased fractionally. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Owen, hold the offensive. I'm trying something else first. He listened to whatever Owen said, his expression unchanging. I know the risks. Do it anyway. Contact Morrison at the federal prosecutor's office. Tell him I'm ready to deal. He hung up, met Claire's eyes. If this doesn't work, it will work. You don't know that. No, I do. But I know Lily needs you more than she needs revenge. Vincent crossed the distance between them in 2 steps. For a moment, Claire thought he might argue more. But instead, he pulled her into an embrace that felt like desperation and gratitude combined. She let herself lean into it, feeling his heart racing under her palm. Thank you, he murmured into her hair, for stopping me from doing something I'd regret. Before Claire could respond, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her stomach dropped. Don't answer it, Vincent said immediately, but she'd already seen the text preview. We know where you are. Give us the girl, and you live. Vincent took the phone, his expression going cold. They tracked it. We need to move now. How did they? Doesn't matter. Get Lily up. We're evacuating. He was already moving, barking orders into his radio. All units, compromise at safe house location. Prepare for extraction. Claire ran to Lily's room. The girl was awake, sitting up in bed with wide, frightened eyes. She'd heard the urgency in the voices. We're going on an adventure, Claire said, forcing calm into her voice. Remember the emergency bag we packed? Let's get that. But Lily wasn't fooled. Her hands signed rapidly. They found us. They're coming. Your daddy's going to keep us safe, I promise. Outside, the sound of vehicles approaching. Too fast, too aggressive. Not Vincent's men. Vincent appeared in the doorway. They're here. 6 vehicles. At least 20 men. We have maybe 3 minutes before they reach the house. The plan had been to evacuate, to run. But Claire looked at Lily's terrified face and realized running would just delay the inevitable. The Russos wouldn't stop. Not unless they were stopped. What if we don't run? Claire heard herself say. Vincent stared at her. What? You said you have 3 guards here plus you. They're expecting us to be helpless, scared. What if we're not? Claire, these are professional killers. And you're Vincent Cade. This is your territory. You know this house, this land. Make them regret Ming here. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. The predator recognizing an opportunity. Owen showed you the panic room upstairs? Yes. Take Lily there. It's got a separate exit to the woods. If things go wrong, you run. Don't wait for me. Vincent, promise me. Her safety comes first. Claire nodded, but her hands were already reaching for the gun Owen had made her carry. Teach me how to help. For the next 90 seconds, Vincent gave her rapid instructions. The panic room had gun ports, reinforced positions, line of sight to the approaches. Claire's job was simple. Keep Lily safe. If anyone breached the room, shoot them. She got Lily into the panic room, a space half the size of the one at the estate, but just as secure. Maria appeared with 2 other staff members, having followed their own emergency protocols. The door sealed with heavy locks. Through the security monitors, Claire watched the Russos arrive. 6 SUVs. Men pouring out in tactical formation. Professional, coordinated, expecting easy prey. Vincent and his 3 guards were positioned at windows, weapons ready. Claire saw him check his rifle with practiced efficiency, then key his radio. They want a war. Let's give them one. The first shots shattered the morning quiet. Vincent's men were precise, taking down 2 attackers before they reached the house. But there were too many. The Russos returned fire, advancing undercover, using their numbers. Claire positioned herself at the gun port in the panic room, hands shaking but steady enough. Lily was in the corner with Maria, both women singing softly to keep the girl calm. Claire's finger found the trigger. A window exploded downstairs. Men poured through, 5 of them, weapons raised. Vincent's voice on the radio, calm and cold. East breach, engaging. Claire watched him appear on the monitor, moving through the house with lethal grace. He'd done this before, she realized. Many times. This was Vincent Cade without the veneer of civilization. Pure predator, protecting his territory. One of the attackers reached the 2nd floor. Moving fast, clearing rooms. Getting closer to the panic room. Claire's heart hammered. She'd trained for this, practiced, but this was real. If she missed, if she hesitated, the door handle rattled, someone testing it. Then the unmistakable sound of an explosive charge being placed. "Get down!" Claire screamed. The explosion was deafening even through reinforced walls. The door buckled but held. Smoke poured through gaps. A man appeared in the opening, weapon raised. Claire fired. The recoil kicked her shoulder, the noise shocking even with ear protection. The man went down, clutching his leg, not dead but not advancing. She'd aimed for center mass like Owen taught, but hit lower. It was enough. Another attacker appeared behind the first. Claire fired again, hitting the doorframe. He returned fire, bullets sparking off reinforced walls. Maria screamed. Lily was crying. Then Vincent was there, materializing like death itself. He put down both attackers with precise shots, then was moving into the room, checking corners, securing the space. "We need to go. Now." Secondary exit. Claire grabbed Lily, following Vincent through the hidden door that led to tunnels under the house. Maria and the others were behind them. Above, gunfire continued. Vincent's guards buying them time. The tunnel was narrow, dark, terrifying. They emerged in the woods 50 yards from the house, into chaos. More attackers than Vincent had estimated, at least 30, surrounding the property. Owen's voice crackled on the radio. "Cavalry inbound. 3 minutes." They didn't have 3 minutes. The Russos had found the tunnel exit, were advancing through the trees. Vincent pulled Claire and Lily behind cover, his body a shield. "If I go down, you run." Straight north. Owen's men are coming from that direction. "Nobody's going down," Claire said, and meant it. The next 2 minutes lasted forever. Vincent firing with mechanical precision, dropping attackers with every shot. Claire shielding Lily, singing the lullaby from their first nightmare, keeping the girl's face pressed against her shoulder so she couldn't see. Then the sound of helicopters. Owen's reinforcements arriving in force, men rappelling down. The Russos suddenly the ones surrounded and outgunned. The remaining attackers surrendered. 12 of them, on their knees with hands behind their heads. Owen appeared, his arm in a sling from the estate attack, but his face grim and satisfied. "Federal agents are 2 minutes out," he told Vincent. "We already sent them everything. The Russo leadership is being arrested as we speak. RICO charges, weapons trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder. This evidence you provided sealed it." Vincent looked at the captured men, then at Claire holding his daughter. The choice was clear: revenge or resolution, war or peace. "Turn them over to the feds," Vincent said quietly. "Let the system handle it." Claire saw what that decision cost him. Every instinct screamed for retaliation, for eliminating threats permanently. But he chose differently. For Lily. For the future. The federal agents arrived as promised. Vincent's evidence had been comprehensive, detailed records of Russo operations he'd been compiling for years. With the attempted kidnappings and attacks, prosecutors had everything they needed. By sunset, the Russo family leadership was in federal custody. Their organization crippled, their operations frozen. It wasn't the bloody war Vincent had planned. It was systematic, legal, final. Owen found them as they were being transported back to the city under federal protection. "It's done. The Russos are finished. Every major player is either arrested or running. The families that might have backed them are distancing themselves. We ended it without starting a larger war. Vincent held his daughter, who'd finally stopped crying. Claire ended it. She showed me there was another way. That night, in a secure hotel while the estate was being cleared, Claire stood on the balcony looking at city lights. Vincent appeared beside her, no longer covered in blood, looking human again. I made a deal with the prosecutors, he said quietly. Full immunity for testimony against the Russos. But I'm restructuring everything, moving operations into legitimate businesses over the next year. No more of this. No more putting Lily in danger. That's a big change. I have a reason to change now. His eyes met hers. 2 reasons, actually. Claire's heart did something complicated. Vincent, I know this isn't the time. You've been through hell because of me. But when things settle, when we're past this, I'd like to talk about us. About what this is becoming. What is it becoming? Something I never expected to. Find again, something worth protecting. He reached for her hand carefully, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. You're not just my daughter's caregiver anymore, Claire. You're family. Both of you are. Claire looked at their joined hands, thinking about the impossible journey from that cemetery to here. Her father's sacrifice, a hidden letter, a little girl who'd taught her to hope again. Family, she repeated softly. Yeah, I think we are. 3 months after the attacks, spring arrived at the estate with an explosion of color that made everything feel like renewal. Claire knelt in the garden, dirt under her fingernails, watching Lily carefully transplant seedlings they'd started from cuttings. The girl's tongue poked out in concentration, her hands steady and sure. No trembling, no fear, just a 7-year-old absorbed in the simple joy of helping things grow. That one's perfect, Claire said as Lily patted soil around a young rose bush. Your mom would be so proud of how beautiful this garden is now. Lily looked up, smiling. She's watching, I think, from heaven, making sure we do it right. Her voice was still soft, tentative with words after years of silence, but she spoke freely now. The nightmares had faded to maybe once a week, manageable. The therapist, Dr. Wesley, said Lily was healing at her own pace, building trust and confidence. The estate itself had transformed too. Still secure, but the fortress mentality had eased. Guards were less visible, though Owen assured Claire they were just as present. Windows stayed open on warm days. Lily's laughter echoed through rooms that had been too quiet for too long. Vincent appeared at the garden gate, no longer wearing suits on weekends. Jeans and a casual shirt, sleeves rolled up, looking almost normal except for the way he still scanned his surroundings constantly. Some habits died hard. There's my gardening team, he said, signing as he spoke. How's the progress? Lily ran to him, dirt-covered hands and all, chattering about the new flowers they'd planted. He listened with complete attention, asking questions, praising her work. The relationship between them had deepened, father and daughter learning each other again, without fear as the constant third presence. Claire, can I steal you for a minute? Vincent asked, after Lily returned to her planting. Owen's inside with some papers to review. They left Lily under Maria's watchful eye, the housekeeper having claimed gardening supervision as her personal duty. Inside, the house smelled like the cookies baking in the kitchen, normal and domestic in ways that still surprised Claire. Owen sat in Vincent's study, but this wasn't a security briefing. He spread documents across the desk, official-looking papers with legal letterheads. Final transfer documents for the Morrison Street properties, Owen explained. All converted to legitimate real estate holdings. The waterfront businesses closed last week, licenses transferred to the Community Development Corporation exactly as planned. Vincent signed each document carefully, his expression focused. This had been his life for 3 months, systematically dismantling his criminal operations and rebuilding as legitimate businesses. It was slow, complicated, and cost him relationships with people who didn't appreciate the change. But he'd committed. For Lily, for the future. The federal prosecutor sent confirmation, Owen continued. Your testimony secured convictions on all the major RICO charges. The Russo organization is finished. Their remaining associates scattered to other cities. Any retaliation risks? Claire asked. Minimal. Cooperation bought goodwill with law enforcement. And the families that might have caused trouble want nothing to do with the Russo mess. We're in the clear. After Owen left, Vincent poured 2 glasses of whiskey, offering one to Claire. She took it, settling into the leather chair that had become her usual spot during these evening conversations. I met with a business consultant yesterday, Vincent said. She thinks the property development company could be genuinely profitable within 2 years. Legitimate profits. Legal operations. Strange concept. How does it feel? Terrifying. I've spent 20 years building one kind of empire. Starting over at 38 feels like being a kid again, except with significantly more to lose. He sipped his drink. But I sleep better. That's worth something. Lily Otis's, she told me yesterday that you smile more now. Vincent's expression softened. I have reasons to smile. Both of you are safe, healthy. My daughter is thriving. I can plan for a future that doesn't involve constantly looking over my shoulder. He paused. Speaking of futures, I wanted to ask you something. Claire's heart picked up pace. Over the past 3 months, something had shifted between them. Small moments, careful touches, conversations that lasted late into the night. Nothing rushed, both of them aware that Lily's stability came first. But something was definitely there, growing like the roses in the garden. I'd like to take you to dinner, Vincent said. An actual date, just the 2 of us. Maria's agreed to stay with Lily overnight. Full security detail, of course. I made reservations at Bellini's for tomorrow night. Claire had heard of Bellini's, the kind of restaurant where reservations required weeks of notice, and entrees cost more than she used to make in a day. That's very fancy for a first date. You deserve fancy. You've earned it dealing with me and my complicated life. His voice was light, but his eyes were serious. I know this is unconventional. You came here as Lily's caregiver, and I don't want you to feel obligated or pressured. But I'd like to see if this, whatever this is between us, could become something more. I'd like that too, Claire admitted. It terrifies me a little. Your world, even the legitimate version, is so different from anything I've known. But yes, dinner sounds perfect. Vincent's smile transformed his face, made him look younger and almost boyish. Tomorrow at 7. I'll try not to be too nervous. The dangerous crime lord gets nervous about dates. The reformed businessman gets very nervous about dates with women he actually cares about. The next evening, Claire stood in front of her closet in mild panic. She owned exactly 2 dresses, both from discount stores, neither appropriate for Bellini's. Maria had anticipated this, presenting her with a garment bag containing a deep blue dress that fit perfectly and probably cost more than Claire wanted to know. You look beautiful, Lily said from the doorway, Maria behind her. The girl was already in pajamas, ready for her movie night. Like a princess. Daddy's going to forget how to talk. Claire laughed, hugging. Carefully to avoid wrinkling the dress. You be good for Maria, okay? I'll see you in the morning. Are you and Daddy going to fall in love? Lily asked with 7-year-old directness. Claire's breath caught. Would that be okay with you, if we did? Lily considered this seriously. Mom would want Daddy to be happy again, and I want you to stay forever. So yes, it's okay. Vincent was waiting at the bottom of the stairs, wearing a dark suit that made him look devastating and slightly dangerous despite the legitimate businessman transformation. His eyes widened when he saw Claire. You're stunning, he said quietly. You clean up pretty well yourself. The drive to the restaurant was comfortable, conversation flowing easily about Lily's upcoming school enrollment, the garden's progress, Owen's surprising admission that he was dating someone. Normal topics, normal life. Bellini's was everything Claire expected. Elegant without being pretentious, service that was attentive without hovering. Vincent had indeed reserved the entire private section, ensuring privacy and security without making it obvious. Over appetizers, they talked about Claire's life before the estate. Her father, her struggles, dreams she'd put aside. Vincent listened with genuine interest, asking questions that showed he cared about understanding her. I wanted to be a teacher once, Claire admitted. Work with kids, make a difference. But after Dad died and I was just trying to survive, it seemed impossible. Too expensive, too far out of reach. It's not impossible now, Vincent said. If that's still something you want, we could make it happen. Education programs, certification, whatever you need. Vincent, I can't ask you to pay for. You're not asking. I'm offering. You've given my daughter her voice back. Given me a reason to become a better man. Let me give you something in return. Claire's throat tightened. You've already given me so much: a home, purpose, family. Then think about it, not as obligation, but as possibility. He reached across the table, taking her hand. I want you to have the future you deserve. Between the main course and dessert, Vincent's expression grew more serious. I need to be honest about what a relationship with me means. I'm trying to go legitimate, but I have a past. People I've hurt, decisions I can't take back. That follows me, follows anyone associated with me. I know who you were. I'm interested in who you're becoming. It might not be enough for some people. My reputation, the risks, the complications. Claire squeezed his hand. I stayed when men with guns attacked your house. I shot someone to protect Lily. I think I can handle complications. Vincent's laugh was surprised and genuine. That's a fair point. He stood, moving to her side of the table. Dance with me. There's no music. There's always music if you listen for it. He pulled her up gently, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers. They swayed in the private dining room to imaginary music, close enough that Claire could feel his heartbeat, smell his cologne, see the flecks of darker gray in his eyes. I'm falling in love with you, Vincent said quietly. I didn't plan it, didn't think I was capable of it again after Rachel, but you walked into my life covered in dirt from my daughter's garden, argued with me about violence and choices, and made me want to be worthy of you. Claire's heart hammered. I'm falling too. It scares me how much. We'll be scared together then. He kissed her, soft and careful, asking permission with every movement. Claire kissed back, feeling like she was stepping off a cliff and growing wings simultaneously. They returned to the estate at midnight, finding Maria asleep on the couch and Lily curled up beside her, both peaceful. Vincent carried his daughter to bed, tucking her in with gentle hands. Claire stood in the doorway watching, seeing the future in that moment. On the balcony outside her room, Vincent pulled her close again. I meant what I said, about loving you. No pressure, no expectations, just truth. I love you too, Claire said, testing the words, finding them right. Your complicated, terrifying, beautiful self. The next morning, Claire visited her father's grave for the first time in months. She brought flowers, real ones from Lily's garden, and stood reading the headstone in the early light. I understand now, she told him. Why you did it, the sacrifice, the choice to save her. I would do the same, have done the same, actually. She smiled. You'd like Vincent. He's trying to be better, to give Lily a good life. And he makes me happy, Dad. I think you'd approve. She placed the flowers carefully, noticing the granite was clean, maintained. Someone still came here, still honored her father's memory. Vincent, probably. Keeping his promise to repay the debt. Claire pulled out a new letter, this one not hidden but placed prominently. She'd written it last night after returning from dinner. Thank you for everything. For raising me, for teaching me to be brave, for saving her. I'm living a life I never imagined, loving people I never expected to meet. The debt is more than paid. It's transformed into something beautiful. I hope you're proud. I hope you're at peace. I'll keep honoring your memory by protecting her, by choosing love over fear, by being brave enough to build something good from tragedy. Your daughter, Claire. She left the letter weighted under the vase and walked back to where Vincent waited by the car. Lily already buckled in the back seat. Ready? He asked. Claire looked at the grave one last time, then at the man and child who'd become her family. Yeah, I'm ready. They drove back to the estate together, sun rising over the mountains, highlighting the gardens visible from the road. Inside that house was Maria making breakfast, Owen reviewing security protocols, rooms filled with laughter and life and possibility. Claire had gone looking for answers about her father and found a future instead. Found family, found love, found purpose. The letter at the grave had started everything, a mysterious note that led her through danger to this improbable happy ending. Some debts, she realized, were never about being paid. They were about being honored, transformed, allowed to grow into something more. Her father had saved a child. That child had saved her in return. And now they were all saving each other, day by day, choice by choice. Lily's voice from the back seat broke her thoughts. Claire, when we get home, can we plant the yellow roses? The ones like Mom liked? Absolutely, sweetheart. We'll plant them together. Vincent's hand found Claire's, fingers interlacing. A promise and a future, complicated and beautiful, and theirs. The end was really just another beginning.